The Roaring Twenties in 1920 was a period of economic prosperity that began in the USA and spread in Europe. American lifestyle became a cultural model. Mass production. It is the large-scale production which appealed to consumers due to cheap prices. Factory production was made more efficient, new and cheaper raw material was substituted by new ones. Mass consumption. More consumers' goods became cheaper, people had credits and mortgages, cars became affordable and popular, factories and offices were made, clothes spread and changed, and telephones were also popular. Mass media. Higher number of radio stations and the radios became affordable. Advertising agencies began to develop. This was in the radio. In cinema, the cinema influenced a social change, and Hollywood became the center of the film industry.
Political and social changes in the 1920s. In the 1920s, the USA became the major global and economic force. The United States also experienced cultural and economic differences, cultural conflicts. Americans thought to being liberated, but religious fundamentalists disapproved of this. Alcohol production and consumption was completely prohibited. Discrimination and intolerance spread through extremist groups such as the Ku Klux Klan. Then economic gaps. In rural areas, huge numbers of farmers lived in poverty. A large-scale rural exodus, especially from black people to northern cities, living in poor neighborhoods known as ghettos. Before the crash, the rich grew richer, wages maintained the same for the lower classes, overproduction and underconsumption got to maximum points, agriculture increased production, and the demand decreased, making prices drop. Consumption was encouraged with cinemas and radios. Weak banks offering easy loans decreased the possibilities of making money. After the crash, economy declined. In just one day, individuals and businesses lost millions of dollars. Rural banks decayed and suffered banking panics from 1930 to 1933. Businesses couldn't obtain credits from other banks. People could no longer afford to spend and stopped buying, making production already decrease, make a lowest point in 1933. As companies went out of business, workers lost their jobs. The US had lent money to Europe and recalled these loans when the market crashed.
The Weimar Republic. After World War I, most all the states were republics. Left-wing opposition. The Communist Party of the KPD emerged and staged an uprising in Berlin. New political realms, communism. The formation of a communist state in Russia. Following the October Revolution, Russian revolutionaries established a communist state. World communism in 1918. During the Russian Civil War, economy becomes controlled. Private trade is banned and people forced to vote in factories. To work in factories. Numerous popular uprisings. Third International in 1919. Bolsheviks became the Communist Party. Its main objective was to promote worldwide communism revolution. New economic policy. After the victory of the Reds in the Russian Civil War, Lenin introduced a mixed economic system, improving life conditions. Formation of the USSR in 1922. Bolsheviks organized the purge of Russia into republics with Soviets. USSR unifies Russia, Transcaucasian, Armenia, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Ukraine, and Belarus republics. The dictatorship of the proletariat in 1924. Adopting a constitution, the union of the USSR was legal. A struggle for power. Leon Trotsky viewed USSR as a platform to spread revolution. Joseph Stalin developed a socialism in one country theory.
Fascism, a new ideology. It originated in Italy after World War I and later spread to other European countries. It rejected liberalism, Marxism, and traditional conservatism. It was based on authoritarianism, which meant supremacy of the state or a one-party state, ultranationalism, imperialism and militarism, racism and xenophobia, and economic control, autarky and corporatism. Military dictatorship in Spain. It was General Primo de Rivera who established a military dictatorship. It was divided into 3 stages. The early years, when he enjoyed some popularity, to maintain power from 1925 to 1929, a strong economy allowed the dictator to remain in power. And the 1929 crisis, the economic prosperity bubble burst after the Wall Street crash. The rise of fascism in Italy. After the disappointment of the post-war in Italy, Benito Mussolini, who was an Italian politic, started the formation of the fascist movement. In 1919, he founds the fascist movement to Milan by an army of ex-soldiers called the Black Shirts. The movement transforms in 1921 to the National Fascist Party, in which Benito Mussolini is elected to the Chamber of Deputies. He becomes Prime Minister in 1922, re-establishing Italy's prestige, and through electoral manipulation and intimidation in 1925 consolidates power in 1924, and in 1925 establishes a dictatorship. He takes the title of Il Duce.